Welcome, Lori. I am so excited to have you on the show today. I've been looking forward to our conversation all week.
So glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. And it's so funny because even before we hit record, we just talked a little bit. And I just said to you, oh, we are just going to be friends. Like you just meet people and you're, oh, this is definitely a connection that was supposed to be made.
Fast friends.
And so I would love to hear a little bit about your background in the sense that it's important for people to understand what you were doing before you became the Joy CEO coach. And so tell me a little bit about your life before in corporate and then what happened and what led you to where you are today.
So I've always been a very ambitious corporate girl. I think I came out of my mother wanting to be a vice president and just climbed the ranks and worked for three really large global brands, Anheuser-Busch, the Coca-Cola Company, and Campbell Soup Company. Made my way to a vice president, leading a large team, and called on large supermarkets. I was a vice president of sales and loved every minute of it, loved leading a team, loved the day-to-day busyness and ever-changing business environment, getting to meet new people, getting to experience a fast-paced, ever-changing environment. And when the pandemic hit, as we all know who experienced that, it changed in a way that I don't think any of us were prepared for. But what also changed for me at that time is I have two sons. One was graduating from high school in 2020, and the other was a sophomore in high school. And my youngest really struggled. And that was something that I don't know that any of us could foresee or could ever have braced ourselves for. And so that change in my family dynamic really had me at a crossroads. And it was that struggle in my child that had me pause and reflect and ultimately resign and leave my position as a senior leader within my organization in order to pay attention and be home. It was a big shift, as you can imagine, but that was the big pivot moment.
Before I ask other questions, how's your son? Is he doing okay?
He's amazing. It was quite a transformation going into it. He was struggling like I think so many of our teens were at that time. I'm not sure how many of us are really talking openly about it, but his brother had gone off to college and he was just left behind. And all the while, not really knowing how to navigate this whole new world. We had moved him from a large public high school to a small private high school right before the lockdown. So there was a lot going on for him.
Yeah.
And he did such an amazing 180 once I was
Mm,
just home and available and present. And you never really know how unavailable you are, how busy you are, how much your mind is preoccupied with work and the to-do list and the distraction of what you need to be available for when you're managing almost $1 billion business and running a
yeah.
large team. But when that's gone and removed from your periphery and your constant thought process, you're like, wow, I have a lot of space to show up and be available to my family. And it really
Yeah.
changed a lot for us. Yeah.
That's wonderful that he's great. And I love that your mama bear kind of kicked in. It's
It
so
did.
interesting when we're on this, I don't know, this fast track and doing all the things and trying to juggle it all and keep it all afloat. But when the things that are most important to us present themselves as a need, it's just not that it was easy. I'm sure it was not easy for you to make this decision, but in some sense, it was like, oh, I know what I need to do. And
Yes.
so, what was the response at work when you resigned?
So it's interesting. I will add, just for anybody who might be listening, I was a single mom for 7 years. And then I remarried, and I remarried somebody wonderful and supportive, and we're a real team. And part of what was so difficult for me was to rely on somebody financially, like to believe that
Mm,
somebody was going to have my financial back. and that I
Mm-hmm.
actually could step away from my job for a given period of time, an unknown period of time, because I had this hustle and this
Yeah.
survival mentality because it was all on me to take care of these boys. And so there was a real shift. I think I probably transformed as much as my son in that period of
Yeah.
time. It was as much for me. But I was at a crossroads with work. I had been such an overachiever, constantly trying to be the best, not only do the best, but be the best and be the top performer. And back to answering your question, I had monthly one on ones with my boss, and you're doing great, even through this pandemic and all these changing times. And leading into my decision, I was continually getting such positive feedback. And I had this moment, and I think for many of us, when we're faced with something like that, we have these very clear defining moments. And my moment was I asked for a sign, like, God,
Yeah.
universe, I need a sign. Can you please give
Mm-hmm.
me a sign? And I looked probably like a crazy person on my front yard out there talking to God. And I'm like, could you please just give me a sign? One so obvious that I won't be able to miss it, so that I know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
Stay, go, be with my son. And because it was a difficult decision, not only are you
Yeah.
giving up a salary, but my identity and my day to dayness and what was the right thing. And it wasn't, but maybe a week later, I was in my normal one on one with my boss. And he said, you're no longer meeting the competencies of the role. And nothing had changed. It was just my sign. And let me tell you, that didn't go over well for me. It took a long time for me to come to acceptance with that. But it was
Yeah.
really my sign. It was the sign I had
Mm-hmm.
asked for.
Mm-hmm.
And it has turned out to be the greatest gift. I had to come to terms with it. My ego had to come to some terms with
Yeah.
it, but amazing.
Isn't it amazing when we ask for the signs and then we pay attention? You maybe were like, oh, I expected it to come through a different way. But do you feel like this is exactly what you needed in order to say, okay, I can walk away now?
Yes, absolutely. And it set me up in a way that I didn't just resign and have to walk away. I was able to resign and receive a severance package, and
Oh,
there were blessings in
blessing.
it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So, what did it feel like for you? Maybe the couple of days, weeks, months, I don't know how long it took for you. I call it like the detox from
Yeah.
the pace, the environment from corporate, because it does feel almost like a hangover, like this cortisol hangover as you're detoxing
Yes.
from all these things. Did you experience that? And how long did it take for you to start to feel clear, healthy, focused, whatever it was that you were feeling after you left?
So that's a really fantastic question. I expected it to take a month or two, but
Yeah.
honestly, it took over a year. And I was a little impatient with myself. I kept expecting, like, okay, today's the day I'm going to be ready to just go charge at the world. But
Yeah.
I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
ready. And those first few days, those very first few days, I didn't even know what to do with myself.
Because your calendar was wide open. There's no meetings on it.
No meetings. I no longer had a laptop. I had to go buy a laptop. I didn't even have
Yeah.
one anymore. I turned it in, and my son went to school. My husband went to work. My other son was at college, and there was me, like,
Mm-hmm.
and the dogs. So I found myself that first week. I think I went to the grocery store like 3 times a day and stopped at the dry cleaners. I really didn't know what to do with myself. I'd walk the dogs. So it really took some time to be clear. Now, the one thing that I had done that was such a gift, really a gift, somewhere intuitively, somewhere the God spoke to me, was I left in April, and in February, I hired a coach of my own. And this coach really walked me through not only how to leave, but how to kind of restore myself. And we did
Yeah.
some work on dreams and purpose, stuff I hadn't even thought about it. None of that occurred to me because when you're in the hustle and the grind, dreams don't occur to you. No,
No.
no, no. There's no time for any of that. So, what I really did for that next year was start to lay out what are my passions? What is the type of legacy I'd like to leave? As I start to think about this next chapter of work, am I going back into a corporate job or am I starting to create something anew? And
Yeah.
as I started to really map that out, I became very passionate about giving back and helping other women. I thought about women who might be sitting in a corner office right now, just sobbing or crying because they were carrying some heavy burden, and then wiping their tears and going into a big meeting to present and just
Yeah.
shoving all that down in. And that was what drove me.
So incredible. And I love that you talked about hiring a coach because it is hard to shift from that very masculine energy of drive and hustle and get things done and go as fast as you can and just to do all the work that it takes to be successful. And then say, oh, and now let's vision, let's dream, let's ask yourself, what do you really want to do? It's one, we don't have practice at it, so it feels completely new and foreign. But two, it is helpful to have someone guide you. So you said when you started, you weren't sure if you were going to switch industries or go back to corporate or what you were going to do. But how did you decide that you were going to start your own business? And tell us a little bit more about that process.
So she took me through this exercise that was basically a walk through my history. Things I had done in my childhood, things I had done through high school, college, and into the early days of my career. And what was the breadcrumb trail that became consistent and illuminated my history. And what was continually consistent is that I was a member of a team, I played sports, I mentored, and I led. And when I started to put all of that together and kind of mind mapped it, if you will, it looked like coaching would be a great career. And
Yeah.
as I started to put that against what did I want in my personal life at this point in my life, which was time freedom, geographic freedom, and financial freedom, I could make a business out of coaching and have those three things and have impact, because the word impact kept coming up again and again and
Yeah.
again. Impact. And so this Venn diagram, if you will, came up and coaching was at the epicenter. So I signed up for a course at Rutgers. They have this executive leadership coaching for organizational performance, and I loved it. I met amazing people in the course. It was a 6 month certification program, and that was it. I started
Mm.
coaching. In the beginning, I was like, can I coach you just for free, just to see how I do at this? And I had
Yeah.
some takers and I loved it. So here we
Mm.
are.
Do you mostly coach women?
I mostly coach women. I do have a few men. I think that the men are really struggling as well. They are
Mm-hmm.
burdened with worry and responsibility, and the men, not only that I coach, but the men that I have managed find it difficult to share that burden with their partners,
Yeah.
their wives, because they don't want to worry them. So they keep that all on themselves. And what ends up happening is it manifests into health issues, heart
Yeah.
issues, mostly heart issues, and hypertension issues. And they struggle. So
Yeah.
they need a place too. The men need a place too.
They do. That's so true. So, your passion, I know, is working with women. And one of the things
Yes.
that you and I talked about is you and I both left and we decided to
Yes.
become coaches and start our own businesses and continue to help women. But I am concerned at the rate that women are leaving organizations, especially women that are 40s, 50s, because I believe that these organizations need female leadership. I think we need diverse leadership. I think we need all those experiences. So, what can we do to help the women, but allow them to stay where they are? Because I know not everyone wants to leave, and it's not the proper solution for everyone is to leave corporate, because I think we still need women in. So have you worked with your clients to get them to what they need to do in order to be able to stay and to grow in their leadership and then help influence their teams or their cultures, influence the impact that they make in the organizations?
Yes, it's such an important question that I think all should be asking ourselves is
Yeah.
this very question. My take on it is there's got to be at least a two-pronged approach. We got to start with the women so that they are learning to take care of themselves. Many of the women that I know that get to the vice president and beyond level have a really hard time with balance and self
Yeah.
care. So they
Hmm.
go at 100 and 150 miles an hour. They're at the beck and call of their organization. And with that comes a lot of guilt. If I'm here, I'm just terrible. But if I'm here, I'm terrible too. And so it's this constant battle within of how to show up, who to be. But the truth is, we're never just the corporate version of ourselves or the motherly or wifely or female version of ourselves. We're one body, one person. And so, how do we show up as our whole self and bring our whole self with us to the best of our ability on any given day or any given meeting, and to be true to that? So, learning skills, learning boundaries,
Hmm.
learning to say no, learning to prioritize, learning what's really in our greatest and highest interest, our best
Yeah.
interest, and having clarity around that. Because
Yeah.
not everything can be the most important thing. And a lot of the clients I work with have a laundry list of 50 things that are their most important things. No, no, no. We got to get that down to five. Five things can
Right.
only be your most important things. And so clarity is one of the greatest gifts that you can have. But for myself, I can't have clarity on my own. I need somebody to help me with clarity because
Right.
otherwise I'm just piling on a to do list. That's impossible. The second part to that is we have to have organizations that value flexibility because women need flexibility and value experience. I went through more than 12 reorgs in my career. It was like clockwork. Every 2 years, there was a reorg coming down. And I feel like it came from the whole Jack Welch GM era. And that management era, I believe, is getting to be outdated. People are
Oh, for
tired
sure. I hope so.
of the right of the
Yeah.
constant
Command and
reorg.
control. Yeah.
Yes, and while I understand that we're gonna get rid of the not performing bottom and keep the top performing top and cut some waste, I understand that. But we're not protecting our most valuable asset, which is the human capital asset, and we're not protecting our women.
Yeah.
And what's happening is women are the shrapnel in all of this, and they're tired. And they're saying, I'm just not going to do this anymore. I'm tired
Yeah.
of this. I'm tired of restarting jobs, taking on more work, being a casualty every 2 years, having to find a new job, being let go from an organization, and starting this roller coaster all over. And then at the age of, say, 45 or 50, being told, well, I'm not really valuable anymore. When the truth is,
Yeah.
we're living to 100 now. So we're only halfway there. So we still have tremendous value.
Of course. Yeah, it's so interesting that your observations, because I've seen the same thing too. And I spent 22 years in banking, and the reorgs happened all the time. And it was the same cycle. And what I've read in so many interesting reports, especially Lean In's done some on women quietly leaving, but just the observation that I had as a younger female leader, I saw women reach the age maybe close to 50 where suddenly their positions were eliminated or they were gone. And these were high performers. These were people that younger women looked up to. These are women who had a voice and were using their voice to try to influence change. And suddenly they were gone. And I remember it was just one of those things, was like, note to self, okay, pay attention and see if this is a trend, pay attention to see what's happening. And it did influence my decision to leave as well, because I thought, well, there's not really going to be a long-term career here anyway, so I might as well create this for myself. But I don't think that's the answer. I think that we need women, we need female leaders, we need their voice, we need diversity, and not just women, of course, diversity across the board. And so what are some of the challenges when you're coaching these women and they're choosing to influence and show up authentically as themselves, as you said, and that highest version of them? What are still some of the challenges that they're encountering that they're sharing with you?
Well, not everybody wants to hear it.
Yeah.
So, in fact, I have one client who reports into a CEO in the banking industry, and her CEO does not want to hear it. And
Right.
it's gotten to a point where his lack of emotional intelligence, so she's got choices. Does she stay and continue to try to make a difference in the organization? Or does she start to realize that her talents have outgrown the organization and look outside the organization? Those are decisions she'll have to make for herself. That's what happens when we
Yeah.
start to realize our potential and then look around. The risk is we outgrow where we're at. And
Yeah.
sometimes that's okay.
Yeah. Sometimes it needs to happen, like the
Yeah.
moment you had. And we
Yeah.
all have those moments when we decide. What about the men? You mentioned also have burdens. They also have worries. They also have thoughts, and they're suppressing them. And we know that when we do that, it can turn into disease. It can turn into some chronic illness and different things too. So what can they be doing to help be allies, or for them to show up as their authentic self at work and maybe also be able to influence some change?
Yeah. So I have this one particular client, and he was just unaware of how all of that suppression was turning into anger. He just
Mm,
didn't
yeah.
know. And so we started with, what would it look like if you openly and honestly shared with somebody, what you were feeling, what was happening for you,
Mm-hmm.
and who would that person be? And so he chose his wife. And over the course of about 3 months, I can't even explain to you what happened with his relationship with his wife. Because as you can imagine, as a wife, she's been worried. She's been scared. She's been seeing behaviors that are concerning, but she didn't
Right.
know the backstory. So, like, these miracles start happening in his marriage, which then alleviates some of the burden, which then
Yeah.
turns into conversations he and I can start having about, okay, how do you take this into work? How do you start having emotionally intelligent conversations at work and seeing a bigger picture for your team? Allowing some infractions if somebody's 5 minutes late because they had to drop somebody off at daycare, or
Right.
somebody was throwing up this morning. Like, how do you start to have some grace around the human aspects of running a team? And he would go around with like his fists so wound up, so tight, like with the stress.
Oh,
And before you know it, he's relaxing. His shoulders are dropping a little bit. And that's just like the goal we had co-partnered in. Like, how do we drop those shoulders just a little bit? And
yeah.
life's just getting a little bit better for him. He actually has
Mm.
scheduled a vacation.
Wow. Hopefully
What a
he doesn't bring
miracle.
his laptop.
We're working on that. But
It's big.
even if he did, a vacation
Yeah.
is an improvement.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's so good. So you mentioned a little bit about self-care, and this is for men and women, the need to take care of themselves to create some more balance and to give themselves more, one, to create the awareness of like, what is it that I need? How am I feeling? But then what are the things I can do for myself? So what are some of the practices or the routines that you coach your clients on and things that it maybe have even worked for you?
So, one, it starts with our thinking. When you're a
Hmm.
highly ambitious, gonna hustle, gonna be the best type of personality, sometimes your thinking in this department can really backfire on you because
Yeah.
your thinking when it comes to self care is, I don't have an hour to do that. I don't have the time to put on my sneakers, put on a sports bra, go get a full on sweat. So, therefore, I'm just not going to do it. I'm just going to stay at my desk and keep on grinding and hustling through. So, I try with my clients to say, okay, we're going to take that level of thinking and we're just going to put that over on the side. How about we just start with 5 minutes? 5 minutes, walk around the block, down the street and back. Just start with that. Just get up from your desk. 5 minutes, go up to the bathroom, put on your favorite lipstick. You're going to feel better on a Zoom meeting if you have on your favorite lipstick than if you don't. Moments of joy that are just going to make you feel better about you, that really nobody else can do but you. And start to just infuse a little bit of sunshine into what it is that you're doing in your day. I created this freebie on my website, and it's the ultimate joy guide, and it gives some of these little tips. It's simple. It's not rocket science, but just ways to remind you that you can infuse joy back into your everyday.
Oh, I love that. And I think it's also funny that we need a guide to teach people how to experience joy. But
Yes.
it's so true because when I talk to my clients too about joy, I get two responses, or maybe a couple of responses. One is like, I don't understand what's joy and how's it different than happiness, or what is it? Two, yeah, if I just fix all these other areas of my life, then I will be more joyful, which is not necessarily how it works. Or there's like people don't experience it, like they're just gray. They've sort of gotten to a place where nothing is in color. And it's so sad. So, how do you define joy? Because I would love to see if yours aligns with mine, because I don't think it's the same thing as happy. So, how do you define joy?
I think joy comes from within, and you can
Hmm.
access it at any moment, no matter
Yeah.
what's going on around you. The kids can be screaming, you can be mad at your husband, work can be falling apart, and yet you can still access joy because it comes from within you and it's a
Yeah.
choice you can make.
I totally agree. It's a state of being. And I do love that you mentioned that it could be little things too. I ask my clients to create a joy list, like something or a basket of joy, things that they can pull from that if they need it, like their favorite mug or cozy blanket nearby, or making sure they have time to go for a walk or whatever it is. Or like you said, putting on your favorite lipstick. It doesn't have to be big things. It doesn't have to be like a huge ceremony. It doesn't have to be something that is so grand. It literally is in the small things. It's finding those things that bring you a smile, that make you feel more joyful or appreciative of life or grateful or whatever it is. So, what are some of the things that are on your joy list? What are some of the things you do for yourself that just invokes more joy?
So I have these two dogs. They bring me joy for sure. I
Yeah.
have a favorite lipstick that when I'm like, oh God, this is just a miserable sort of day, I just pull that lipstick out. I have a Spotify playlist. It's a hype list. Beyonce's on
Yeah.
there, Taylor's on there. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, state of mind. Like we are going for this.
Share that with me. I need
I
one of
will.
those.
I will. And sometimes just moving my body will bring me some
Yeah.
joy. I
Hmm.
tend to have this mentality, hustle and grind. Come on, Lori, just sit at this desk and just grind this stuff out. But if I get up from this chair and start walking, there's
Yeah.
something about being outside and breathing in all of this gorgeousness that's been created for us that just will
Mm,
change my attitude. Like,
yeah.
just snap me right around. Yeah.
So good. It's just those little things. And do you ever catch yourself thinking back to when you were working with your coach, kind of creating the vision, focusing in on the dreams, thinking about the business or the life that you could create, of financial freedom, of time, geographic freedom, and looking at your life now? Do you just have those moments where you pinch yourself and say, I'm doing it? Like it's here.
Yes. So as we speak, I am in San Diego in a hotel room overlooking the ocean and having a podcast with you. I mean,
Right?
that didn't happen in my previous life.
Yeah.
So, yeah, here I am, like making it all come true. I signed a new
Mm.
client this week while I was here in San Diego. It's just, it's amazing. And I'm really doing work that I love and I feel like makes a difference.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
And tell me, is there anything else that you're currently working on that you're excited about?
So I'm really excited. I have launched my first retreat, which has been a dream. I would sit in my corporate life and say, I'm going to host a retreat one day with a group of amazing women. I'm going to bring them all together. And fast forward, here I am doing it. I'm going to take a group of 10 women to Canyon Ranch in the Berkshires, Lenox, Massachusetts, in October. I have 3 spots left open, and my goal is to rejuvenate these women, pamper these women, and help them just come back to life with a renewed spirit of joy and purpose. And I'm really excited about it.
Sounds heavenly. So, if people wanted to work with you or maybe even learn more about this retreat, where can they find you?
So loripine.com is my website, and at loripine is my Instagram handle. And I would love to be in touch with any of your listeners.
So good. And I ask all of my guests a final question tied to the title of the podcast, which is, what does it mean to you to live the width of your life?
For me, it means finding that joy and spreading it, making that impact, because I believe that's why I'm here.
So good. Lori, thank you so much. Thanks for being a bright light in this world. I just applaud your courage to go after the dream that you wanted for your life, and you're doing it, helping others, being of service, spreading love. Much continued success to you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.